many other names for this time of year. And of course, to those in the other hemisphere, happy Beltane. Um, in any case, I just wanted to take a few moments to be with you tonight. And I know that there's some people very dear to me that are having difficulties, and I thought that this might be a nice thing to do. And I'm thinking of you all. So, Goddess bless you on this mysterious and magical night as we observe Halloween under very unusual circumstances and under the light of a beautiful blue moon. Now, if you're like me, when I first heard the phrase once in a blue moon, I thought that it meant that the moon would truly be blue. Uh, Many blue moons later, I know that that is not true, and it's just the term for the exceptional but rather accidental fact of having two full moons in a single month. And so this is a rare confluence of a blue moon with Halloween, and now we are experiencing that variety of energy as we move into this new time. And Halloween for many they see it as the Celtic New Year, and I think any of the major quarters and cross quarters, of which this is one, really can be the beginning of a whole new year and a whole new energy. So, by all means, if you want some change to come forth, if you want a new start, then tonight and the next night or so are excellent times to attempt to do that and to bring it in. And so I'm happy to be with you as we do our midnight rite of this particular new year. It is midnight, time to go ahead and dream. Dreams are never what they seem. You must dwell upon what they mean. It is midnight when you wake up at sunrise. Take the time to analyze, for your dreams are very wise. It is midnight, it is midnight, it is midnight. At this hour, it is said that the veils are thin. And I saw on Facebook recently someone asking, I think it was Sarita Dest, actually asking, what does that mean? And are the veils really thinner at this time? And it's a good question because there's, some apparently good analysis of information that indicates that, for example, there are times that people who believe themselves to be psychic seem to be more psychic than at other times. And there's been some correlations made to astronomical phenomena that may be affecting that, and that longer cycles of that may even be behind why some people believe in psychic phenomena and some people don't, in terms that there may be a period of several centuries where it is more functional than in other times. And so it's easy to be a skeptic in the time when these cosmic influences are not favorable to communicating, say, telepathically or experiencing other so-called psychic phenomena. And then there's times where it's very favorable, and then it's much easier to be a quote-unquote believer in such things. But tonight, I think most of us believe that this is, at least by social agreement, has become a moment in the year when we do focus on spiritual things, on otherworldly things, on our intuition, on our dreams, on our departed dead, and that even if there's no other reason for this time to be specially set aside, we have collectively done so. And I believe that there is power in that, and that has actually made this moment one which many things can and may occur to help us be remembering of those other modes of existence, of those other dimensions, of those other places in our minds, hearts, and souls, places of the past, places of past lives, people of those lives, and the dear people that we have spent, unfortunately, only a portion of our lives with, who have now gone on ahead into other existences and other worlds, at least as many of us believe. So tonight, I want to just remind everybody to have your notebook by your bed, have something that writes readily, preferably two somethings or more that write readily. I've often advised that you want to have a pencil beside your notepad because it sometimes is easier. You won't be writing half a sentence and then realize in those blind first moments of getting up that you've written an entire sentence without there being any ink, or something like that. But I had the experience the other morning where I was waking up from a really interesting night of dreams where I remembered like 5 or 6 distinct dream segments, and I knew some of these had occurred early in the night and some had occurred later, and so, at least one just before I woke up. But I'd somehow had the kind of ideal retention that I'm really looking to improve. And so, I grabbed my pencil with great joy and discovered that when it had been sharpened, there was like one side of it that had extended. And so it wasn't really a fully sharpened pencil. And in fact, I would, like half of it was the graphite and half of it was wood. And if I didn't hold the pencil just right, it wasn't writing either. And I did not have a second writing implement within easy reach. So now I have learned that you want to have at least two. And hopefully that will assure you of being able to quickly put down your record. Because as we know, one of the little tricks of dreaming is that you will be absolutely confident that you will remember absolutely everything. And alas, usually you will remember next to nothing. And as many dreamers have experienced, you may actually even experience writing down your dream in your dream and then waking up and realizing that you have nothing at all that you can remember and record. But at least keeping your notebook and your implements by your bed so you don't have to turn on a light, you don't have to click on anything, you don't have to wait for your computer to boot up. You can just write it down. That's the best way to grab onto those little fragments before they slip away entirely. So, I'm hoping that everyone that is watching this has had an inspiring day. Perhaps you've dressed up. Perhaps you've taken on another identity, at least for a few minutes or a few hours. You've perhaps had the opportunity to see dear people, living people, transform themselves in remarkable ways and maybe reveal something of their soul to you and how they've chosen a costume, whether they've chosen a costume at all, and what they are seeking to convey on this kind of free day where we can really, really play with our perceptions and play with what we want to be, play with what we want to develop into. It's not so much what we want to be when we grow up, it's what we want to grow into. And that can be an important distinction. You don't have to grow up, but you should be continuously growing into yourself. You should be the becoming, the constant becoming. And the Egyptians had this wonderful word, kepra, and several variations on that, keper, keperu. And it basically means to become, to create, to transform, to be, to continue. So there's phrases that translate to things like, you know, I am the becoming that I may become that which is to come, and similar phrases. We can't even capture all the nuances of this idea of continuous transformation. And of course, the ancient Egyptians in the Book of Coming Forth by Day, more commonly known as the Book of the Dead, because it was generally with the mummies that they were exploring. Um, they have many, many, many spells for transformation into something. And when we put on a costume or we put on a mask, that's really a physical form of that spiritual transformation that all of these prayers and spells were intended to provide for the person who had passed away and who had passed into this place where things are much more malleable, where you can transform yourself into a swallow or into a deity or into a flower or into many other things, as much as you can imagine. And so these instructions were being sent along with those that were going into the underworld so that they would know how to do these things in the spiritual form. And when we put on things like Halloween costumes, that is what we are experimenting with, only in a primarily physical form. Though I think all of us know the transformative qualities of masks. I'm not talking about the COVID masks now, but the masks that cover your face and even eyes that you know very well in the face of a beloved person. Once they're behind a mask, it really can filter and transform how you perceive that person and what facets of that person's personality are brought out by what they are placing in front of them. And that small little barrier can mean so much and transform so much as well. So let me just grab our I sat down to do this pretty spontaneously, and once again I seem to have set aside my dream incubation materials. So I will go ahead and close then without doing the full incubation rite. But if you want to just get a little taste of it, just sit, relax, breathe in and follow your breathing, and let out the day on the out breath and bring in calmness and the wish for dream-filled sleep on the in-breath. And out with the day and all the troubles that there may have been, or challenges, or just too much busyness. Let it all flow out. And the in-breath, bring in that calm nourishment, because air is a nourishment. It is a milk. It is a feeding form of energy. So just let yourself be filled with all that you need from the universe, all the support that you need from the air, just from around you. Let it come into you and fill you and soothe you and prepare you for a healing sleep filled with dreams that will be of interest and meaning, and that you'll be able to remember upon awakening. Well, I think it's working for me. I hope it is working for you as well. As always, I wish you all the blessings of the goddess Isis and all the blessings that you may need, whether they are for healing or comfort or inspiration or stimulation to go and do great things. All these blessings, may whatever your soul's purpose really need, may it come to you and be there in abundance and love. God has blessed you all, and I hope to see you here again. Good night.